I have an announcement. Between July 23rd and August 11th, we are going to be conducting a data visualization competition. You'll get to participate in this if you sign up for our Marketing Analytics case study course. So what we're going to do is have you compete for a chance to win a spot on the podcast. All you have to do is finish the course, post your visualization to LinkedIn, tag us in it, and you'll be entered in on this competition. So what are the benefits for you? Well, number one, you're going to build a killer analytics portfolio piece. Number two, if you tag us in it and we comment on your LinkedIn post, this is going to be a wide range of exposure for you. And then number three, if you win, you get to come on the podcast and have an expert review your work. So that's just hugely valuable just into itself. So Michael Gallarnick is a true heavy hitter in the analytics space. He is published on LinkedIn, he's a lecturer at Stanford, and he is currently the head of developer relations at Anyscale. On August 13th, he is coming on our How to Get an Analytics Job live stream to review our finalists. Well, I realize you may be a little bit intimidated, but let me ease your anxiety a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing over the next 2 weeks is I'm going to be quite vigilant on checking my tags on LinkedIn. So if you come up with your first iteration of your dashboard, tag me in a LinkedIn post and I will give you detailed feedback on what you're doing well and how you could even improve it further. And you can even tag me multiple times. I'm open to taking an iterative approach, because I think that's probably the best way to build out a really solid analytics portfolio. So all you have to do is tag us, post your work publicly, and you're going to be entered in this contest. And I can't wait to see the finalist results, because already we have Deepak and we have Abe Diaz who have taken this course and tagged me on multiple iterations of their dashboards, and they look fantastic. So if you're ready to beef up your personal brand in the analytics space, then join us in on this challenge. I dare you. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. So we got a full house today. So we've got John Pollard, welcome, and we've got Hunter, we've got Albert.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is fantastic. Your upcoming challenge sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a neat concept of, I think a lot of people do a lot of hard work, but they do it in private. So the piece of like not only doing, like having wins, building skills, but having people see it is really, really valuable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Al, do you have headphones on, or can you? I think we're getting a little bit of feedback.
No, but I'll go on mute.
Okay, perfect. Well, now we can't hear you. I guess you can just do sign language. Thumbs up. All right. Well, so John, what we're going to be talking about today, essentially in a nutshell, is going to be how to transition or how to grow within the analytics space. And I love that title of, what is it? How I would learn analytics if I had to go back. So how about we start off with who you are, you kind of give us a rundown, and then we'll jump into that topic.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of the instructors at Maven Analytics. I teach SQL. That's my primary passion right now, is helping others get really good with relational databases and apply SQL on the job. It's not how I started my career, though. I dove in initially to being an Excel jockey full-time. I was working for an agency that served a number of different client partners. So got to see a lot of different business models, got to meet Chris Dutton, who ended up being my business partner now, who's fantastic. And then later on in my career, I ended up making the transition to spending most of my time in SQL, which is something that I'm glad I did it. I kind of wish I did it a little bit earlier. And then the past couple of years, I've been fortunate enough to get to kind of give back to people who are earlier on in their careers and try to get them up to speed with SQL. And it's just been a ton of fun. So thanks a lot for having me here on the podcast. I've seen a number of your episodes, and I think for people who are just starting out, you should just go to YouTube, check out a title that you think is interesting, and watch it. And my guess is you'll probably end up watching at least 3 or 4. So it's great content and a great place to start if you're trying to get your bearings.
That's a huge compliment. Our goal, or at least one of our goals, is to have that binge-worthy content where it's like and we're kind of building this lore, like LORE, of like, all right, what happened in this previous episode was this, which we're actually going to be getting into that a little bit later. I guess I'll give a little slight teaser. So the last episode, Hunter got his work critiqued by Jenny Toomey. And turns out she's a nitpicker, and he was so mad because he was on vacation and could not defend his thoughts or explain, so he just got eviscerated. So Hunter is back on to defend himself.
Just to be clear, I'm not mad at her. She was very respectful. She said that I'm a little bit of a nitpicker. She kind of explained that before she went into it. But there were a few things that I wish I could have been there in person to explain to her, because the decisions I made, I still stand by some of them. Not all of them. She had some good critiques, but some of them I think I thought they were pretty good. But either way, I'm happy to take criticism today as well. I'm known as being critiqued around here. So,
well, I mean, Hunter, I just want you to be seen and heard, because I got a very frustrated phone call right after the episode from you, which is so yeah. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is hopping into kind of a continuation of Hunter recreated our marketing analytics case study in Power BI, which is for those of you who are new and not John Pollard. I don't know if you know this or not. Hunter was my student at High Point University last semester. So we did like a few modules on Power BI, but I'm much more of a Tableau person. Also, Tableau Public has got the superior kind of personal branding touch where you can actually, that's an interesting question. This is kind of off topic, but do you know anyone? I've seen some people who have Tableau or Power BI portfolios. Are they just doing it on their own website, or have you guys seen a solution for that?
Yeah, we see two, basically people building their own website and just spinning up, here's the business problem I solved, and then link into kind of more detailed stuff with visualizations and maybe some DAX to show off the technical. So I think that's a great approach. The downside is you have to build a website and host a website, right? And the other one that people do is GitHub. And same thing, like GitHub, it's great. You can host some stuff there for free, but it's maybe not super well packaged up. We're actually talking about at Maven building a solution that we'll just put out there for people to host their own project portfolios, because it is such an important thing. And we really don't see anybody totally nail it as a solution for aspiring analysts. So I'm advocating for that one right now. There's a few other tech priorities ahead of it, but hopefully in the next couple months, we'll get that out there.
No, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, because I mean, I will say this, Tableau because that's such a good like organic way of promoting a product. It's just having a whole community, and then the Tableau Zen masters, and it's like they built this scene around their product, which is it's just fascinating. But all right,
they've done a great job.
All right, so let's get to the meat and bones. We're not gonna dance around it anymore. So let's pose that specific question. If you had to go back in time and start from the beginning, would you change anything about your career trajectory, or do you think that you kind of got lucky and went, the straight and narrow from the get-go?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably a two-part question. There's definitely things that I wouldn't change. They worked out really, really well. And then there's a whole bunch of other things I probably would have changed. And I think the things that I got right, they were sort of more accidents, happy accidents. I wasn't super deliberate. And so I'd say that's probably the one thing that I would say, if I could go back, I would just be much more deliberate about my career. So I think I sort of lucked into a job that happened to be pretty fun and taught me some good skills. But I don't necessarily think I took that job because I realized the opportunity that it was, and because I picked those specific skills. And I think that's something that I definitely recommend for people is first, just kind of try to understand the entire space of data, because you say I want to work in data or in analytics. There's so many ways that can go. That could be a data analyst, somebody who loves data visualization. Maybe you're more of like a data engineer or DBA type. Maybe it's all about modeling for you, right? So thinking about like, what are all those potential things that you could do? And then just try to marry both what you are naturally good at and what you're excited about, and then try to find the roles that will do that for you. So I think that's something I didn't really, when you're 22 years old, when I was getting my first job, I was just really happy that anyone would hire me and give me healthcare, right? So so that's probably the biggest thing that I would change if I had to do one thing over.
Okay, so now I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
How can we hack that? What's the solution to getting that clarity earlier on in life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that I didn't take advantage of early is just learning from experts. I read some books from people like Avinash on Google Analytics, but there wasn't this podcast when I was getting started. The LinkedIn data community was a lot smaller. The YouTube data community was a lot smaller. So I think just finding some people that you are happy to learn from, who have done this and are giving away this free information, like just start there. And honestly, I think this podcast that we're on right now, if you watched 3, 4, 5 episodes, it would be a fantastic jump start. It's just such a great overview. So I think just getting that lay of the land from people who have done it before, like do that first. I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, well, kind of what I was hoping you would say, what you essentially nailed, was find mentorship, find someone who is where you think you want to be, and then figure out, okay, what got them there. Because in hindsight, like now that we've arrived, we can say, oh, we kind of went around this loop. We could have gone a straight path this way. And what's interesting is that you may get to that place and realize that, oh, this isn't actually where I want to be. Because at 22, like you don't. What's funny, and I see this with my students, like Hunter especially, they know nothing, but they are so confident.
Yep.
All right, I'll pull him back in so he can retort here.
You gotta be joking.
No, Hunter not so much, but I do see that a lot with students who they just haven't been exposed to a lot. What do they call that? It's like the beginning of learning something new. You feel really confident, but it's because you don't know what you don't know yet.
Yeah,
and
that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, or I'm
right,
probably saying
right.
that wrong, but yeah.
Albert said it best. Hunter knows nothing. Quote of the day, and we're only 12 minutes in.
No, Hunter, I will defend you. You know quite a bit. I mean, look, you now know Power BI and Tableau, and you're just becoming a junior now, right? Because I got you when you were a sophomore, right?
Yeah, you got me the second half of my sophomore year, and I already know more than I think I learned for the entire first 2 years of college. But granted, I did put in the work. I didn't.
That's true. That's true. And I promise, if everyone who's listening, I didn't plant him to just brag on me. That was genuine. But yeah,
I dropped my script on the floor. Hold on.
So, well, also too, Hunter, I think that we can kind of piggyback off of like what I've seen your growth. So you were just incessantly curious about what's out there. I mean, John, he actually spun us up a Discord server that we're now growing, and he's doing a weekly challenge with random different data sets. So, I mean, kudos to you. Oh,
this is the first time I've been able to come on the podcast and talk about that, if you don't mind for just a second.
Go ahead.
So, I've been talking with Tim Leisman over at Code for Greensboro. We've been discussing a number of different opportunities that we have with the data collaboration project, because the first one, we had a few people join here and there, but it wasn't as engaging as I hoped it would be. So there's a new set of data that I'm cooking up right now that revolves around fire response times in the Greensboro area. There he is. Hey, Tim. And we actually, Tim, now that you're here, we need to call after this, or at some point in time soon again. and get some more information on all that. But essentially, what I think the goal is right now is to work with our community and actually submit some of the visualizations that we create to the Code for Greensboro event that they're hosting, and see how that goes. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to talk more about it later, but yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks for the plug. I'm going to piggyback off that. Maven Analytics has a bunch of challenges, right?
Yeah, we try to get one out about once a month. There's one going on right now around the Olympics, and putting together an analysis of the history of the Olympics. It closes this weekend with the closing ceremonies. So it's probably too late for most people to get into the data set, but we'll have another one launching in another couple weeks. And we do same ideas, kind of how you were talking about your challenge. We'll interact with people, try to get more visibility for their work, give people critiques. And then we also put up an annual membership on our platform. So whoever comes up with the best project for it, we all get together and vote on that. And then they get an all access membership to the platform, which is Excel, Power BI, SQL, Tableau courses. So it's been a lot of fun. And we've had a couple people who, you watch them go through and they're sort of struggling even just to figure out how to use the tool. They're getting better and better. And by the end, they're these fantastic storytellers. And the guy I'm picturing right now just reached out about 10 days ago and he said, I got a job. He was transitioning from being a pharmacist into a BI career. And just like you were saying before, John David, he took this project and he handed it to the employer during the interview process. And he said, hey, look, here's how I took a data set. Here's how I told the story. Here's how I visualized it. And it's just such a concrete way versus saying I can do the job, showing somebody you can do the job, right? And we have a few of those stories just from the challenges, which we started kind of for fun and for learning. And then now people are getting jobs on them, which is just a fantastic treat. So
awesome. So it looks like Nitika, it was a running joke of like for 3 episodes, I was calling her Nikita and she just gave me a little bit slight grilling of mispronouncing Jenny Jumay's last name. But yeah, it looks like you got a fan already joining in on the chat. So can you unpack what is the benefit from your perspective of these community challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a bunch of things. One is just kind of learning together. So if you start following them, you'll see what other people are doing. You'll get ideas of what other people are doing. You'll even see whether it's one of the Maven instructors critiquing it or just someone else in the data community critiquing it and saying like, hey, this chart is okay, but it's not the optimal way to visualize this. You could communicate it more clearly if you did X, Y, Z instead. So there's learning opportunities there. There's building your brand just from being out there and participating in such a large community. We had actually one of the guys that's been in the challenges from the beginning. He's one of my favorite guys. I won't name him, but he ended up starting doing a lot of stuff with us. He ended up becoming an ambassador for this other data community. And then he just messaged me this morning that because of all this brand building he's done, he just got a job offer. And so again, really, really happy for him. So not to hammer the same story of this leads to a job, but just it is the most important thing. It's why we're all learning this stuff together. That's the goal at the end of the day, is to get into this really rewarding career path that's a lot of fun, has a ton of opportunities, has great job security, but is hard to get into, right? And this is one of the ways that you can bridge that difficult first step. So,
okay, so we got Noor Afar asking, how do you participate in these challenges? So do you guys have like a specific landing page or?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you follow Maven Analytics on LinkedIn, you'll never miss it. We always announce the challenges there, and we always put up a blog post introducing the challenges. So if you just go to mavenanalytics.io/blog, you'll see some of the previous ones. There's no registration required or anything. You do have to have a LinkedIn account. You would then go to the Data Playground, which Data Playground is this. It's a tool that we built that people can go and download data sets. They're curated data sets that we think are really good for training purposes. Again, that's free to download. It doesn't even require having a registered account with Maven or anything like that. So that's just there for everyone to learn. And they also have these recommended analysis prompts. So if you're new and you're not exactly sure what to do, you'll get 5 questions on the data set that really just point you in the right direction. And then you go try to do that on your own. And we use the data playground data sets for these challenges.
Awesome. And so we're offering a challenge so we're launching our own Silvertone Analytics learning platform. We're still in the beta phase right now. And part of our courses, we're including a LinkedIn challenge. So this may scale up and not be feasible for every single person who finishes our course. But for the time being, if you take our course, there's a module that's going to say, here, take the work that you've done, customize it in your own way, tag us in LinkedIn, and I'll give you at least 3 points of feedback on how you can improve further. And you can tag me as many times as you want. Now, I realize this is not scalable. We actually just pushed play on ads as of this morning. So I don't know. That's like a whole can of worms that I've not explored yet, like actually trying to scale up Facebook, YouTube, or Google ads. So who knows what that's going to be like. But for the time being, you can come to learn.silvertone Analytics and you can start to participate in our challenges there.
Yeah, so such an awesome offer to be able to get feedback from you, right? And it's a free offer. Like, why wouldn't you take them up on it? You know?
Well, okay. So this is an interesting point in that, and I don't know if you I don't know if you should go in this direction. So I've been on Udemy for multiple years now, and I've noticed that from a kind of a strategic perspective, I'm getting 35,000 students on a course, but they've put very low effort and they're very needy, to where we're going the opposite direction, where we're charging $200 for a course, but then you get more access to us, and it's the people who see it as an investment rather than. I think that something that is emerging, and you may actually disagree with me on this, I think that the hard skills are becoming increasingly commodified. So it's like a race to the bottom for all of these skills courses. And I'm more of like a data strategist. Like I use data to drive business decisions. So I'm communicating that within the course, which the course is typically on Udemy. And I know that you guys, Chris Dutton has like over 1 million people who've taken his Udemy courses.
Yep.
Maybe we could pivot this conversation a little bit into, because actually this is one of the questions we've got, is how do you learn analytic skills? Like, what are the pros and the cons? And I'm actually working on
let's see. John David, I think you might be frozen. Can folks hear me still? Hold on. I'm going to try to come back in.
Okay, so the power went out at my house again. This is the second time that's happened. Okay, so let me see if I can contact John. We can just have this episode through mobile. Can you guys hear me, by the way? I know it doesn't look great, probably. Sorry, guys, we're having some technical difficulties. Here we go. All right. All right, sorry.
Hey, there we go.
The power only goes out in my house in the middle of live stream. So I've been here for this new place for 4 months. I've had 2 power outages. Both of them have happened between noon and 1 on Friday. So
it's a powerful stream.
You're right. The power grid just cannot handle the level of intensity that's just coming off this. This is like, now I need to keep it like this. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm improving in real time because I've never been on the mobile interface before. But you were making a point. Where were we? Sorry, I'm a little frazzled right now. I'm trying to get.
No, you were telling us about something that that you've got coming up, and I was on the edge of my seat.
What have I have coming up?
We were talking about those data challenges and whatnot.
Right. Okay. So we are now starting to look towards like the nonprofit sector to start doing community events, because one of the things that I think is really neat and an opportunity about nonprofit sector is that they want their impact in the community visualized, and they actually want to use that as marketing. So we can use that to kind of help build analytic skills like in our communities. Wow, 34 people are still on the live stream. That's wild.
Some good gravity. Yeah. A few minutes at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and now I know, like, I've got a backup, a contingency plan of, all right, if the power goes out again, which that would be, what are the chances of that? I mean,
all I'm saying is next time you give me admin role, I'll drag myself back up and entertain these people for hours on end. That's all I'm saying.
All right, we need to do that for sure. I didn't know that we could do that within StreamYard. So we've been using StreamYard, Hunter, for like 2 months now.
Yeah.
So this is relatively new, and it's such a different vibe talking into a phone than into a camera. But all right, I think we were talking about learning analytics, and I think one of the most useful things about these challenges is that it gives you a specific project to focus on, because like you have barriers, like because one of the questions that we talked about off air is, well, where do I start? Like if I want to get into the data analytics space, how do I even start that journey? Because it's so overwhelming. You can be data scientist, data engineer, business analyst, data analyst. You could be a data steward. Like, do you have any advice on how do you even start that conversation or even start that thought process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that a few things I'll say on that is I do think you should try to have somewhat of a plan and try to get a sense for the space. Like, what are all the things that I might be able to learn? What are the things that I'm most interested in? Ask those questions. You know, what is a data analyst versus a data scientist versus a database administrator or a data engineer? Those types of things. And really have a plan that even write it down of steps that you want to take towards learning those things, but then don't obsess over it, right? Like when I say you should have a plan, like that plan could take you an hour to put together with a little research, and then just start going and start learning what you think is good, because you could obsess forever over, am I learning the exact right things? Which skills are really in demand? And it's just so much better to actually start making progress. But it's find that balance to point yourself in the right direction, right? So the specific advice I'd give on that is is think about kind of what are the problems that you're most interested in working on. Is it like deeply technical stuff, working with huge amounts of data, trying to corral it, trying to build the infrastructure? Like, is that really exciting to you? If so, then maybe you're more of a data engineer type, more of a database administrator. Me personally, that's not as exciting. I do some of that work to necessitate the part that I do really love, which is using the data to try to figure out how to make businesses run more efficiently and how to grow companies. And so if you like that stuff more, kind of diving in, trying to find growth levers, cost savers, how to make customers happier by using data, then you're probably more on the data analysis side. If you are just really interested in trying to go the modeling route, and that's sort of like a little bit of a blend of the technical and the digging for insights, then it's maybe more data science. And so like, I'd say ask that question first. Like, what are you excited about? And then you can start going, okay, now I know I'm a data scientist in the future, or I'm a data analyst. And once you kind of know that direction, then you can start building out a concrete path a little bit for yourself.
Yeah, it's funny because we say something very similar. I think the way I frame it up is, are you more interested in people or things? If you're more interested in things like designing systems, then you're probably more on the technical side. If you're more kind of people-centric, then maybe you're lighter on the tech side, but more heavy on the communication side. So, I mean, that's kind of like a very quick kind of test you can run yourself of what is the general direction. But at the same time, though, you don't really know until you get out there.
Oh, John David, we lost your audio.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we're good. Yeah.
Sorry, my mom's calling. This stream's just been like.
Now we got John David's mom calling.
Bring her on. Yeah.
Yeah, get her on the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go.
My mom's my new co-host. We're gonna talk about
Maybe she can show some of your baby photos. I think our stream might be interested in that.
I don't know if you guys can handle that. That level of cuteness is.
Oh, I see.
I had a bowl cut when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys know that.
I did too.
Any chance of bringing it back?
I think it's. I think it's fashion trends are kind of headed back that way.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Awesome. Okay, so let's hop into Hunter. Can you share your Power BI, and then John can let's start critiquing that.
You mean?
Sure.
Do you mean my Tableau? Did you mean my Tableau public that I worked on?
Yeah,
today?
Tableau public.
Yeah. All right.
Nice. Today, fresh project.
I uploaded it to Tableau public today, but I've been working on it over the course of the week.
Great.
Let's see. Hunter.
You see it down there? There you go.
not.
Yeah.
It's
up there right now. Yeah.
Cool.
So
No.
let me give a little bit of a preview to this. So this is part of the marketing capstone course that Silvertone Analytics has been offering. So this is the marketing analytics for Amazon and for Facebook sales, not including attribution. We actually, over the last 2 podcast episodes, we had feedback from our viewers, and a lot of people were very interested in is attribution of the ads as well. And so we actually are adding a segment. There's going to be a new section of the marketing analytics course that talks about attribution. And so this is a very basic dashboard right here showing Amazon sales and ad spend, Facebook sales and ad spend, as well as ROI charts. A few other things. This is based on just the bare bones hard skills of the course. This was designed to get you into the thick of things in Tableau. It's not really the end product, so to speak. So what I'm looking to do is to add some ratios so that you don't have to do as much math in terms of like sales to ad spend, for example. I want to add a few title cards here and there so that it's easier to see at a glance what the high points and low points might be. And other than that, I want to see where I'm gonna play around with it a little bit. This is just supposed to be the primary focus of it. So I
Awesome.
wondered if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, nice, great, Hunter. So I love working with paid marketing. It's one of the things that I got into in my career and had the most fun with. So you're definitely tugging at my heartstrings with this one. And I would say the first thing I'm doing here is I'm sort of squinting to try to figure out what the yellow and the blue line and the green and the red lines represent. So I'd love a legend somewhere just to say this one's spend, this one's revenue produced. So I'd say start with that. Like always make sure if somebody was just looking at this and you weren't there, that they could understand the data that you're presenting to them. Just so stick that on there somewhere.
Right.
And then the other thing that I think you touched on, what I think is the really important thing when you're looking at return on marketing spend is right now, I think you've got spend and revenue driven, right? Are the two lines?
Right.
Yep. And I think translating that into that ratio of either, you call it ROI or ROMS, return on marketing spend, return on ad spend.
Yeah.
When you can bring it into that metric, like that's really what you care about, right? So when I used to run some pretty large marketing budgets for a couple of companies that I was working at before Maven, and that's what we cared about is spending $1 and making at least $1.15 or $1.20. So trying to get that positive return, and it just makes it so much easier if you can break down that ratio like you talked about. So I think you're really already on the right track with this stuff.
Yeah, this was just the kind of getting into things. There's also 2 other segments to the marketing course that you can't get from just looking at my dashboard that I created.
Yeah.
And so like you said, I want to add those legends. I actually think there were legends already attached. I think just because I was kind of trying to get this out before this episode. I think I removed them because I think they were messed up in the formats or something like that. But nonetheless, I'm glad that you can appreciate the information that it's portraying at least.
Yep.
Did you have
And then
any? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I'll just throw one more thing on there. So like, let's say you're the analyst and you were presenting this to me as the guy who owns the channels. I think my next question after what you've got here, which is basically how are the channels doing, is how can I improve those channels? So it would be, is there a way to go one level deeper and say, these specific ads within Amazon are really efficient, but these ones are not? Same thing with Facebook. Are there certain targeting methods within Facebook? So it's always, this is always the first step. Just produce the scoreboard so that people can see how well it's doing. But then the next layer, the actual playing field is, what are those levers that I can optimize? And that's going to be ad creative, your targeting metrics. So you probably go into that more, in detail, but that's always the first question that I'd be asking when I see something like this.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because there is attribution data in the data set at this point. We went back and updated that, so we have like Facebook ad 1, Facebook ad 2, and returns on those. That's just something that hasn't been implemented in the course yet, and so when I was going through the course, I wanted to make sure that I was following along pretty exactly. I actually, if you were interested at all, then you can go back and watch the last episode where we went over and reviewed my Power BI. I made this exact dashboard almost visualized differently in Power BI, and I had that critique last week. And that was before I had actually taken the course. So now that I've taken the course, it's a lot more clear and concise. And there's more that I can play with later on that will be useful information and make it even just that much more in depth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think having
Awesome.
context for the analysis you're doing is really, really important. That's one of the main obstacles, I think, of getting your foot in the door is having a problem to solve. Like, it's almost like you need the problem to solve before you build a skill set. I mean, you can learn generalized frameworks, but until it's applied, it's not really, it's almost like rote memorization versus actual specific knowledge.
Right.
Yep.
Sorry, I got cut off again. Where are we in the conversation?
Well, we actually just finished up. I got a few good pointers, including legends and we talked a little bit about attribution, how that was included in the course now.
Okay.
And there was a few other bits and pieces there that I can go back and add. I think we got through the criticism of just the dashboard itself. Do you think, John?
Yeah, I think it's great. I'd say this is like a super minor thing, and I went probably 10 years before I figured this out. And I figured it out because I ended up having a business partner who was colorblind. And so to a colorblind person, red and green look very similar. So in the ones on the right, I always try to, after having worked with him, I try to avoid red and green. And the embarrassing thing is, for the 10 years leading up to working with him, I always used green for good and red for bad. And then he really was like, "Hey man, I'm having a hard time following this story in the board meeting because you're killing me with these colors." So
that's super interesting. That's so interesting to hear. That's like, you never would think about something like that, but now that you've like brought it to my attention, like that's like always going to be in the back of my head. Like, oh, what if a colorblind person's looking at this? I got to make sure it's clear for them too.
yeah.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, just the more you get into it, the more like, so not the last episode, but the episode before that, Ash was talking about the nuances of attribution, and he was talking about, well, like, so the way that we've approached attribution in this case study is that each ad has a specific promo code attached to it. So that's how we're tracking, which is actually how a lot of the tracking I've done on my Udemy courses over the years. It's a specific promo code ties back. And it's a shame because I think you can only do like 3 a month now, to where you could do unlimited. And I think when I first got on Udemy, I'd have a unique promo code for each YouTube video, so I'd know which specific YouTube video is driving the traffic towards my courses. But he was talking about, well, what if someone sees the ad and then forgets to put in the promo code? So then that's another little edge case right there. And those edge cases are, I mean, there's a huge amount of them, and it's unfeasible for you to learn them in a traditional classroom setting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great critical thinking to even raise those corner cases and start to think about how you might attack them. So that's great.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, it's just kind of like you're taking the floaties off and you're getting in the deeper end of the pool, where you have to think. You can't base your decision off of a framework that was given to you.
Yep.
Which I think that's one of the main skill sets that you have to have in this space, is being adaptable. I mean, I'm being somewhat adaptable right now.
Yeah.
It feels really awkward to me being on my phone instead of, I've got this nice setup. The power still has not come back on in my place. I don't know what is the deal. But okay, let's head over. We're going to cut to a commercial break, and then we can talk about, after the commercial break, we can open up Q&A, and then we can talk about, so Maven is doing a new boot camp. Isn't that right, John?
Yes, we are. Yeah, it launches in September. So yeah, happy to talk about that after we do a little Q&A and get this commercial break in.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, so we're going to cut. I'm doing this on my phone is different. Okay. All right, so this should work. Are you looking for real data to analyze? An actual problem to solve? An experience worth talking about in an interview? Well, in this case study course, you get a real-world problem with a messy data set and a business outcome that's on the line. My name is John David, and I'm the founder of Silvertone Analytics, a boutique consulting agency that focuses on business analytics. I'm also a professor of analytics at Greensboro College. And in 2021, I had the privilege of combining these two worlds. My real-world Greensboro College students got to work with my Silvertone Analytics clientele for the Analytics Minor Capstone course at Greensboro College. This case study course is modeled after the lesson. All right, I think I don't have enough internet bandwidth to play that. So that was playing glitchy for you guys, right?
No, it actually sounded fine.
No, pretty smooth.
All right. Well, cut the ad short. It was coming like every third word was coming through on my end. But here, let's get back to the comments. Here I can add Al back in too. Al, are you still there? Let's see. If Hunter or Al, if you guys have any questions that you saw come up in the
Audio now, so
I actually wasn't keeping as close of track. I don't know if Al, you saw anything back there. Oh, I found one right here. S. Hanasoj. I don't know how to pronounce that name. How do you know when you are good enough to start applying, or do you do learning and job hunting at the same time simultaneously? What's the balance there?
Sure. Yeah. I would say don't wait. Even if, say, maybe you're not good enough to nail the interview right now, you want to learn both the tools of the trade and how to think like an analyst. And then simultaneously, you want to start learning about what's going to get you traction in actually landing interviews and maybe even getting some real interview prep. So, I would probably start with trying to learn a little bit, but then pretty quickly afterwards, I think it's great to just start thinking about what types of companies you would want to work for, what are the specific types of roles that are out there. And then because the sooner you start doing that, if you see like, hey, I was learning Excel, but then there's so many of these Power BI roles at the company that I want to work for, maybe that's a pivot that you make. And just starting to get a sense for what's going on in the space is really smart, and you can learn about that too. So hopefully that helps with your question. Just get started.
Yeah, I agree. I started doing. I started out obviously in John David's course at High Point, but after that, I kind of just jumped into the thick of things. I tried to get as involved on this as I could. I started watching the podcast frequently. I ended up watching it so much that I became a guest on it somehow. I don't know how that ended up happening. But I ended up with an internship. Now I've been learning still constantly on. I've used LinkedIn Learning a little bit. Obviously now we have the Silvertone Analytics platform that I've been learning on. And yeah, I would agree 100%. You kind of have to just jump into the thick of it and do a little bit of both. Seeing if we have any other questions. Let's see. I don't really see any at the moment.
Okay. Well, we can. Can you guys hear me? By the way, I'm hearing some like severe crackling through the phone.
Yeah, there's a little bit of crackling.
Yep, a little bit of crackle now.
I wonder if it's my end, which this.
I'm pretty sure it's you because it stopped when you cut yourself from the feed a minute ago.
Okay, I feel like I'm doing right now with like trying to figure out my phone. Okay, I guess this has been an interesting podcast stream. Let's go with, John. Why don't you tell us about this boot camp that you guys are putting out?
Sure, absolutely. So this is the first time that we've done that. We've historically done self-paced courses entirely, and now we're going to be doing this 12-week full-time intensive boot camp, and it's very much in line with the theme of this podcast, trying to get your first job in data. So if that's your goal, trying to break into a career, that's the purpose of this boot camp. And so what we're going to do is over this 12-week period, we estimate about roughly 30 hours of commitment per week, kind of full time. So that's why we're going for people who don't yet have a job but would like to break into the space. Someday we may also add a part-time program, but right now it's really going to be people who are currently looking for work, and we'll take you through Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and SQL, and then we round out with some career prep courses where we help you get your resume together, we help you get LinkedIn tightened up, and then we'll do some interview prep for you. We'll do some live mock interview practice, and then the end of this program, the goal is to land people in a job working in the data field. And it's we've got a full money back guarantee on it. That was super important to us. Even before we got the final curriculum down, we said we really, if we're going to do a boot camp style program, we want to guarantee that we're going to put people in roles. That puts the incentive on us to get the curriculum right, make sure there's tons of hands-on projects that people can show to employers, make sure everybody's really well prepared in terms of thinking like an analyst, thinking about how to market themselves at the end. So really, really excited about it. We're going to keep it pretty small. We initially were saying maybe we want to do like 25 or 50 students. And as we've talked to more people, we've tightened it up, and we said we're going to target roughly 10 people to go live in this cohort. So it's pretty exclusive. And that's going to allow us to give a ton of attention to these individual people and really make sure that they can land that job that they've been gunning for. So I'm really excited about it. It's probably the most exciting thing that we've done in a while. And, I love my job every day anyway. So that's saying a lot.
Okay, awesome. I think I'm the source of all the crackling.
It seems to be better now.
This has been an interesting live stream for sure, but John, we got to get you back on when the power doesn't cut out like right in the middle of everything. It was going so well and so smooth. But okay, interesting. So I think let's bring this live stream to an end, just because I don't want everyone to have this terrible crackling in their ears. But so what's the best place for people to connect with you and Maven Analytics, John Pollard?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say we're pretty big on LinkedIn. Go check out the Maven Analytics LinkedIn page. And if you're interested in either our courses or our boot camp, just come to the website at mavenanalytics.io. And actually, we'll throw this in for anybody who is interested in the boot camp. If you put an application in and you mention this podcast, we'll take 20% off the tuition. So just a little extra incentive to help us with our attribution here. So.
Hey,
Awesome.
attribution. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Attribution.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank
Bringing
you
it
guys
all
so
back.
much for being on, and thanks everyone for being patient in the chat. This is a little bit of an unusual podcast episode. My power is still not back on. I'm not sure what is going on here, but I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys later.
Thanks for having us.